everyone, and welcome to our next episode of Called and Chosen. In this series, we're not looking so much at the physical buildings of the churches that we worship in. Instead, we're looking a little bit deeper at the men that God has called to serve us as our priests. Today, we are in Lavernia, Texas, at St. Anne's Catholic Church. So we're here today with Father Johnson Lay, the administrator of St. Anne here in Lavernia. And I studied with Father Johnson for a little while in the seminary. We got to know each other. And so it's been really cool to get a chance to watch him come into his own a little bit as a priest. And now we're trusting him with his own community. And so, Father Johnson, it's great to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
And so I guess as we begin all of our episodes, I simply ask you, let's hear a little bit about your vocation story.
Yeah, so it started, I guess, I would have to say mom was a big influence in my life as going for vocation. They would always ask me about my vocation, whether or not I should join the priesthood or not, and I would always tell them no. And it started probably, I would have to say, all the way back about 12 years old. Mom signed me up for altar servers, and I looked at her like, are you crazy, woman? Like, well, what is this? And I remember my very first mass was serving at a funeral. And that was the very first mass, and then in that time, they had said, you know, there's no room right now in the cars, and so we're just gonna put you in the hearse and we'll take you out to the cemetery. And all I can remember, I was looking back at the caskets like, please don't wake up right now, right?
Exactly.
I remember that was my first mass to serve, but throughout the years as I was serving, I just started to fall in love with it. Just fall in love with the mass, just being up there at the altar. But that wasn't the reason why I wanted to become a priest. I didn't even think about it. At about 16, a group of friends asked me if I wanted to go with them to Houston on a Discernment Retreat. And that was far from me wanting to think about the priesthood. All I heard was, Houston, we're gonna be away from our families, let's go. The rest of them, there was a group of 5 of us, and the 4 of them was like, we're gonna go and check this out and pray to God, see if we're gonna become a priest or not. It was about a week during Christmas and New Year's, and you know, just prayer and being with the brothers, and it was, you know, it was different for me. Out of those 5 of us, I'm the only one that made it as a priest. So go figure that one. The one who didn't want to become a priest ended up becoming a priest. And so throughout my life after that, just about going deeper into Christ with God through discernment. Just praying hard about the discernment process, and praying to God, where are you asking me, right? I attribute my vocation to our Mother Mary, right? I have a deep love for her, and I believe she is the one that asked me, would I consider joining the priesthood? Through the rosary, through the major thing that really pushed me into really discerning was praying a novena.
Yeah.
Novena to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And it just happened to be that okay, we're gonna start this day.
Yeah.
Just this day, let's just start it and let's go. And then on the 9th day, without realizing it, it was the Annunciation. I'm like, all right, I guess you're asking me of this. You said yes in your fiat. And so I guess let's really discern this. I didn't say yes then, right? But I continued this, just deepening our love for our Lord in the Eucharist and prayer. And from there, just meeting other people. And I think that's where I found my vocation. It's through Mary, through the people that I interact with, them having a conversation like we are right now. And they're the one that's telling me, maybe you should think about it. And so it's always been an invitation, right? Our Lady asked me, would you consider it? Meeting other people, like, would you consider it? And so I took the step and I said, okay, I will consider it. And since then, I haven't found any reason for me to leave it, right? And so I'm at peace where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's awesome. So you mentioned you went on a discernment retreat for a little bit. Was that for like diocesan? Was it more of a religious feel? What was the retreat at?
At that time, it was for the Redemptorists.
Okay.
So it was a religious community. And the reason for that is because at my church and my home parish, we had a Redemptorist priest come in, give retreats, give mission talks, and and so that was my first, I guess, priestly. I didn't know there was different ones.
Exactly.
Right, diocesan versus religious. I didn't know about that. Right?
How would you explain that difference now to someone that's listening about what the difference is between those two.
So diocesan, which is what we are, right? We fall under a bishop, under a territory. For us, it's the Archdiocese of San Antonio and the surrounding areas, right? That's our territory. We fall under a bishop. We take obedience, promise our obedience to him, and he's the one that guides us. And most of our I guess, activities or where we our minister is usually at the parish.
Yeah.
Versus as a religious life, they have a superior. They don't really have a territory, a geographical territory, and so they can be called anywhere. And then not only that, but they have a specific charism, usually left behind by the founder. And so they have a different charism, spirituality that they focus on, and then they use that in their preaching and in their ministry itself.
Exactly. So you mentioned your mom was a little bit of your influence as well for this. How did your family react throughout your making the decision that I'm going to give it a try? I'm going to go to the seminary. And how was your family's support, and how was their reaction going through all this process?
Mom was enthusiastic. She was happy. She was praying for me. Dad, on the other hand, not so much. Dad was a convert.
Yeah.
Is a convert from Buddhism to Catholicism, and so whenever people would come and talk to him, it's like, "Hey, your son's becoming a priest," and I was like, "Yeah, that's not my choice." I wanted him to be a doctor or something rather, and so he didn't really understand what the priesthood was. Versus mom, she was like, "We're gonna have a priest in a family. We're gonna have somebody praying for us always." But even at this moment, both of them still are kind of still new to all this, right? And so when people come and greet me as Father Johnson, I'm like, oh yeah, he's a priest now, right? And so it's very different for them as well. And then in the Vietnamese culture, honor to the elders is always very important. It's so when I became a priest, their status as parents also got raised up, and so people would greet them a certain way with a different title, and so they're not used to that as well. And so they're kind of like freaking out with all of this. And it's like, no, don't. He's still my son. And, even Dad was like, I'm not calling you father, right? Because I'm your father. You're still my son. I was like, that's fine. That's okay. I am still your son. So you don't have to worry about that. And just to hear mom, when we're in public, calling me father is also very different, very weird to me as well.
Same for my family. Most of them, they've looked at me and said, we're never going to call you father.
Right.
Most of them also said, I will never come to confession to you either.
Yeah.
So I know all your sins anyway. You might as well come.
Exactly. And then for me, I was like, maybe it's good that I don't hear your confession. I don't want to know those deep secrets, right? So it's all right.
What's funny out of that is some of the ones that are most out of it actually are the ones that have started coming to confession though. I have one cousin, like if we have a family gathering, they're lucky they can say, we don't have to go to Panna Maria or another place to go to Mass. We got Father. We just have him say Mass while we're all here at the house. And I'll have a cousin or two that'll usually pull me aside to go to confession.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if it's the same for your family when y'all have gatherings now.
I've only had maybe one or two cousins that's gone up to me for confession.
Well, what about for Mass? Do they want you to do Mass now whenever you come home more?
Yes, at home. And I think that's a beautiful thing of being a priest for the family. That we're able to bring these sacraments to the home.
Exactly.
And just be there with the family.
Yep. I tell my family, I said, I am a portable Mass and portable holy water. Just take me on vacation. You don't have to worry about missing Mass on Sunday. And they're like, well, we're out of holy water. I said, that's kind of one of my jobs. I can do that very easily.
And even my friends are like, well, if you're going on vacation, just bring your stuff and let's just have Mass here.
Exactly.
You don't have to go to the church, right? And so it's all.
Maybe what is one of your favorite things that you get to do now as a priest?
Well, I think for me, it's just the love of the Eucharist. And so the Mass itself, just diving into that relationship with our Lord and just noticing, there's been a few moments just this year already, and I'm just like, the tears flowing down my face. It's like, this is Jesus right here. And then just being able to show the love of the Eucharist, the love of God for the people. That I think that's what's, at least for this community here, is bringing people back. This love this passion. And I believe that when we find our passion, it shows. And we don't have to do anything. Right? It just shows.
You know, and I have met with our seminarians this past week for the Archdiocese, and one of the things I challenged them is to continue discerning what brings them joy. That if they can't find it in the seminary, they're not going to find it, they're not going to have the time to find it as a priest.
Right.
And so what would you say, what are some of those things that bring you joy? Not just the sacramentals, but what are some things that you do, hobbies, things you do that bring you joy, bring you happiness?
One of my pride and joy is actually my dog. I have a French bulldog named King Louis, right? He's a pain in my life, but also the blessing in my life as well. And so you can find me with him all the time, usually. Just playing around and joking around, fooling around with each other, and going on runs and walks and just out. And not only that, but he's an attention grabber itself. And so he just loves the people here. I think the other part is just, one of my hobbies is just finding new restaurants, going to eat, finding different places, and just enjoying life through food, right? Through food, and just relaxing and just having fun. I think that's what's important. It's just to learn to live your life here at the church, but also outside of the church as well.
Well, because we only meet a certain percentage of the souls trusted to us in this building. And I think people forget that sometimes. Once we're made a pastor or an administrator like you are, we are entrusted to every soul in our boundary, Catholic and non-Catholic. So we meet them at HEB. And they probably keep coming and say, Father, can you got a minute? Father, can I ask you something? And I always tell them, I'll hear your confession anywhere. I'll put the tailgate down on my truck, whatever we got to do. And so the fact that is that our hobbies and those things, they are another way to connect to people that allow our people to encounter us and us to encounter them. And I know here you'll have Ministerial Alliance, so got all these different things that y'all do to encounter a larger portion. In a way you can kind of tease them at those is, y'all are my parishioners too, you just not come in the building very often.
Right.
But what would you say is, because you've spent 3 years, how long as an associate before they made you an administrator?
3 years.
So you spent 3 years as an administrator, and now you're getting ready to start year 2 as administrator or running in the parish here in St. Anne. What would you say has been how different has it been in how you relate to the community and you see your priesthood from when you were an associate to now being off on your own?
This question here is just something I've been just realizing lately. As an associate, as a parochial vicar, people would come up to me and tell me all their problems and concerns of the church, and all I have to do is go to your pastor, right? I'm just here to be able to celebrate the Mass, the sacraments, and the responsibility wasn't really there. Yes, I care for you as my parishioner, I care for you as people and children of God, but my responsibility wasn't the same as it's now. And now it's just like, oh my goodness, I am having to take care of you. You are my own, right? And so just, and I was just telling the parishioners here just recently, like, you have been making and helping me to grow in my identity as a spiritual father. And I don't think I actually said that before until just recently, like, I'm your spiritual father. You're my sons and daughters. And so I think that has been a growing moment for me. And something that I continue to understand and see where it goes, to deepen this understanding of who I am as a priest.
Exactly. Because they become our family. Even at times, I know it aggravated my mom and dad. I'm going home, I'm going to the parish, my family. So no, your home is here. So no, my home is where my people are. My home is my parish. And actually, I think I did something very similar this weekend at my parish. There's an old Polish proverb. It says, not my circus, not my monkeys. And I said, the reality is y'all are my circus, and this is my monkeys. I mean,
I don't know how they feel about you calling them monkeys.
Well, I include myself a lot of times in it too. And because I saw that popping up on social media, they love that little quote. And it says, the reality is I can't say y'all aren't my monkeys and this ain't my circus. We're in this together. So that makes me a ringleader.
That's right.
Of this circus. Now, you've also, your parish encounters as you've been ordained are very vastly different too. You've been a very urban, very large parish at St. Rose of Lima, and now you're in a more rural, but also very vastly growing community.
Right.
What have been some differences and challenges that you've had learning these two different communities?
Again, city life is very different from rural life. The pace is a lot more faster in the city. Everything's just go, 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 right? I'm learning that here, everything takes time. Some of the things, it just drives me insane. It's like if I'm asking for volunteers for an event that's coming up in 2 weeks, you may not hear it, but on the day of, they all show up as a community. It's like, y'all are gonna give me a heart attack. I can't deal with this. But just the pace of itself. And then I guess the other thing is because St. Rose was so big, not everybody knows each other. And people are still are strangers, even though they're sitting right next to each other. Here, being that we have about 600, 700 active families, and more often than not, people actually know each other. Not only that, but they have grown up with each other most of their life, and so they know the ins and outs and the history of each other, the families, and some of them have deep roots here. And so I find that very beautiful.
It is, and it gives a whole different feel to the parish identity when you have that, when the parishioners know each other and there's that connection. The parish family is different because they really do feel as if they're one large family.
Right.
Even though half the time they're all related to each other as well.
That too.
But that understanding of being a family is not something we have to build in a parish like this. We foster it, we continue keeping it alive.
Right.
But it's something that comes almost natural to them. And so it's a beautiful thing to witness and to watch. Now, one of the other things I always have asked is, in our culture today, we don't have a very strong culture promoting and talking and encouraging vocations. What would be some practical advice that you would give to help people begin to help be fostering and nurturing this culture toward vocational discernment in our communities and in our lives?
I think we shouldn't be afraid of it. We shouldn't be afraid of talking about vocations. And not only that, but just changing the mentality of the negativity of the priesthood or the religious life of how, you're going to be by yourself, you're not going to have anybody, you're not going to have a family. It's just these negative thoughts about it. If we can start just changing that mentality around of how positive it is, how joyful it is, how peaceful it is, right? Then we can change this culture of vocations around. But I think it has to start with the family. It has to start with mom and dad and everybody else. Just let's talk about the priesthood. Let's talk about the religious life. What does that look like? What does that mean? Because I think that's the number one thing. We just don't talk about it anymore. We don't encourage it. We don't pray about it. And so when we can change it, we can increase in that aspect of talking, not being afraid about it, then I think that's where we need to go. That's the direction we need to go.
I look at it, a lot of our clergy here in San Antonio, I don't even know if our parishioners really grasp the understanding. We're an older presbyterate overall. Priests your age and my age, we're a little bit on the rare side to get these young priests. And so looking forward 10 years, how are we going to handle our parishes also if we don't start talking about vocations now?
Right.
Otherwise, they're going to be working us to death. Or they're going to have Father Johnson have 5 parishes he's going to have to run. And the one thing parishioners always ask for of us is they want our time, they want our attention. Well, the way we're able to give that is when we have the time when we're not having to cover 8 parishes or cover masses in 3 different locations, that we can focus on them and develop that fraternal connection with them, where we know them by name when we see them wandering around town. Or when they come to Mass, their kids come happy to see us. That means we've had that opportunity to invest in them.
Right.
And so I think that investment also is a beautiful opportunity. And so our people have to see, if I don't begin promoting vocations from the pews, I'm not going to have that connection with my priest that I want.
Correct.
Just because I'm never going to be able to find Father, he's going to be at the next church every time I look for him.
And I agree with you saying investment, and that's what I'm trying to tell our parishioners, our people. It's about investment, because they say, well, all these other countries are bursting at the seams with vocation. Why don't we bring them in? Like, that's good and all, but the problem is that that's a quick fix.
Exactly.
And they're just here for a little bit, they'll return, and they don't know the culture, they don't understand what's happening here. But if we can get invested with our own people, our own priests, then, you know, the saying goes that when you're invested in something, you're gonna take care of it even more.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we have to do here.
Yeah. Well, as we're coming kind of a little bit to a close, what kind of encouragement would you give to anyone who's actually actively discerning or thinking about a vocation? What would you want to tell them?
A formator of mine told me once before that in discernment process, that discernment does not truly happen until you're actually on the other side, in the seminary or in the religious community itself. And not only that, but you yourself should and can only be 50% sure, right? That's probably the most that you can be sure of, because you're going to waver up and down throughout your life and throughout your discernment process. The other 50%, you should leave it up to God. If He's truly the one calling you, He's going to help you out in every way possible. And so have trust and faith in God that He's going to take care of you.
Exactly. Well, Father Johnson, I thank you for opening the church to allow us to come in and visit with you, hear your vocation story. I guess the last question I never did ask you, you mentioned your family is Vietnamese.
Correct.
And so how long have we been here in the United States? What's been that route for our family as well, and different about the Catholic faith for the Vietnamese culture?
My parents, Dad left the country in 78, Mom left the country in 80. They met over here. And so 30, 40 years now, right? The Vietnamese culture has been coming in the United States. There's a Vietnamese church actually here in San Antonio.
Exactly.
And the population is growing each and every single day. And that devotion to God, believe it or not, it's crazy, because we are bursting at the seams in Vietnam, and so we're having a lot of them come over here. But what people don't realize is that Catholicism is only about 10% of the religion in the country itself. But because of their faith, because of their trust in God, it's what's helping them grow. And I see that that has helped me with my own vocation, my own religion and faith in God as well, because I see it from them. And I think that's for me, I'm proud of being a Vietnamese American and a Catholic and as a priest.
Exactly. Well, I wanted to take that opportunity just to allow you to talk a little bit about that culture. I know you've done a little bit you also stay connected with that Vietnamese church that we have here in town, but you also probably bring a little bit of that taste here out into Lavernia, where probably they haven't encountered almost anything about that kind of a cultural experience. And so that's a beautiful thing that you can bring to them and then allow them to continue enriching you from their experience.
Definitely.
So that's a beautiful thing. And so thank you for opening the church. Thank you for coming and visiting and sharing your vocation story. And for those who are watching today, thank you for tuning in today. And as I encourage every one of our episodes, continue praying and discerning for vocations. Who is going to fill those shoes of those beautiful, wonderful priests that you remember that have have a place so deep in your hearts? Who's going to fill their shoes? Who's going to become that next priest in your parish? Let us begin praying now for an increase in vocations to the priesthood in our archdiocese to continue helping serve our parish communities. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
Thank you so much for being a part of watching this vocation video series, and we're excited that you took time to do so. God has a call for each and every one of us, and maybe God is calling you to be a priest or a religious brother or sister. So don't be afraid. God's love is with you, and God will give you the strength to answer that call. If you'd like to speak with me or anyone in the vocation office, or you seek further information, go to our social media, San Antonio Vocations, or just simply look us up, Google us, and you'll find the information, and we'll get information to you as quickly as possible. God bless you, and God be with you.